Kareem Sameach. Good to see you all. So Dr. Liederman and I, not Dr. Liederman, Dr. Bahir, looking at Dr. Liederman right now. Dr. Bahir and I are going to talk to you about a really fascinating and exciting scholar. Let me, on screen. I swear I've done this before. 1 second. There we go. Okay. So we're going to talk to you about Lewis Gordon. He has a lot of titles: philosopher, political theorist, educator, musician, activist. He's one of these guys who makes you wonder what you've been doing with your life. Or certainly, it's the case for me. He was born in Jamaica, raised in New York City in the Bronx. He has a master's degree and doctorate in philosophy from Yale. And he's currently a professor in the philosophy department, head of the philosophy department at the University of Connecticut.
So in addition to some of the amazing things that we just saw that he's done, he also founded the Center for Afro-Jewish Studies at Temple University. And here's a quote from one of his articles where he says, one of the curiosities of the Afro-Jewish question is that it is a question at all. And the question he's talking about, like, what does Afro-Jewish studies mean? Or why would we study Afro-Jewish studies? And he right here says it's not really a question. It should be a given. An understanding of Judaism makes the questions of the convergence of people of African descent and Jewish people unremarkable. Like, of course there is overlap. There's no question there's overlap. This is even more so as Jewishness diverged from ethno-racialism and more into religiosity. An Afro-Jew, thus being an African-descended person who practices Judaism, is of no consequence to this view. So, the fact that we are even asking the question as where does African studies or Afro-Jewish studies fit into Jewish studies, it's a shame that that's even a question, that there was a gap in the first place, because there is so much overlap. For thousands of years, there have been Jews of color of all sorts of different races throughout the world. So displaying this fact is one of the main reasons he wanted to found this Center for Afro-Jewish Studies.
To pick up on that, part of what he wants, I think, the world to understand, the scholarly community to understand, is that focusing on the Afro-Jewish experience, using that lens, is not to the exclusion of other lenses and experiences. So really for him, naming Afro-Jewish studies as a particular set of questions and ideas is actually a portal to other realms of Jewish life, other realms of Jewish studies, including, the experiences of East Asian, East Indian Jews, Latin American Jews, and other communities in the diaspora. So we've got a short clip of him speaking on his experience as a student and learner, and what it's helped him understand about the role that teachers play.
I think half of you got to hear that, where the audio was a little bit strange, like half and half. But it's about his view of education and like his relationship with his teachers, what I think speaks, very closely to what we're talking about here today as teachers at Kehila. And there are some quotes here that I want to talk about. You see Laura Levitt, who is the director of Temple University, who held the Center for Afro-Jewish Studies that Gordon founded, is groundbreaking, and it representing the new Jewish cultural studies. And this really is the state of the field. Where Jewish studies is and where it's going is to be more inclusive, look at all forms of Jewish voices and overlaps with other peoples. And right there, this quote from Lewis Gordon, that Rabbinic Judaism emerged. Now, Rabbinic Judaism is essentially the Judaism that we all know, like Reform, Conservative, Orthodox, all comes from Rabbinic Judaism. And it emerged after the fall of the Second Temple. Some of my diaspora students know this for sure. Those years were marked by a transition of a colonized, in today's terms, multiracial ethnic group, Judeans. So the Jews, the early Jews, a multiracial ethnic group, who adopted a proselytizing approach to which 150,000 of them created 8 million Jews in the Roman Empire. So in the Roman Empire, we started off as 150,000, it's a fair amount, but blossomed into a people of 8 million. That the Roman Empire was multiracial is without a doubt. It spanned as far north as Britannia and as far south as the northern borders of the Sahara, as far west as Iberia, and as far east as Persia. This makes Jewish racial and cultural homogeneity a laughable prospect. So it's laughable to think of Jews as one racial people, like Ashkenazim or Sephardim or Ethiopians. Judaism itself is multiracial, multi-ethnic, multicultural. So this really is where we're also, like within the Jewish Studies Department of Kehillah, are going with some of this to showcase how there should be no question at all where the overlap is. There's always been an overlap. We just haven't talked about it always.
So if you're intrigued and you wanna learn more, I'll post a document with links to some of his writing, some interviews and lectures, and probably I think most enjoyable of all is an interview where he both is talking about philosophy and playing jazz on the piano at the same time. So we'll post those links in the chat. So anyway, thank you for giving us this time.
Thank you so much. So